Hey, it's me, Hannah. I have a fan convention coming up and one of my cosplays requires a bunny suit. For clarification, we're leaning more towards the Playboy bunny suit and away from the Donnie Darko bunny suit. Potentially just as horrifying depending on how this goes. I'm gonna be using the amber bunny suit pattern from Aranea Black. Aranea Black, which you can find for free online. Their website is down, but if you search for it, you can definitely find it on like a random Reddit thread or certain forums here and there. Bunny suits by nature require a lot of customization and personalization. So by the end of this, the pattern may end up unrecognizable in certain ways. But let's go ahead and take some measurements to determine the pattern size to at least start with. Obviously, I'll start by putting on something that's not too bulky. Let me actually drop you down so you can see the measurements I'm taking. Also note that because I'm looking to kind of accentuate some curvature with my bunny suit, I do have an underwire bra that I have kind of hiking things up here, as well as inserts that will kind of just add a little extra volume, a little extra padding.
It's filled with pudding. Pudding?
And obviously I'm planning to wear these with the bunny suit as well. I'm not going to add any hip padding. I'm hippie enough. But if I were planning to, I would make sure to have that on when I was taking the measurements. All right, when taking measurements, first things first, I am going to use this leftover, I don't even know what this is, trim of some sort, and just go ahead and wrap that around and tie off my waistline. A lot of the measurements I'm gonna take are in relation to my waistline, so I just wanna make sure that that's kind of consistent throughout this whole process. Okay, let's get to measuring. All right, first measurement is my bust. So you're looking for the widest part of your bust line. Next, we're gonna do our underbust. And I'm not cinching too tight here on any of these measurements. All of the potential waist reduction measurements I might add are gonna come after we've taken these measurements. So now we'll take the natural waist, which is this line we've indicated here. I'm making sure to avoid having any extra, fingers underneath the tape or even this knot. I wanna make sure that the tape is lying flat. Next, we need the high hip, which is of course at the highest point of your hip bones. I'm also making sure to stand up straight when I go to get the final measurement. So I just kind of re-straighten, make sure my shoulders are relaxed. That will probably come in even more handy as an extra step to take when we start to do the vertical measurements as well. And then lastly, we have our middle hip, which is kind of where your low-rise jeans might hit. So now for our vertical measurements, we are going to start with the bust to waist measurement, which I believe will be the apex to the waist, which we again have indicated here. I believe we're supposed to follow the contour of the breast. Get in the comments if I'm wrong. And again, I'm making sure that my posture is good and my arms are relatively relaxed before I look to see what the measurement is. And the next we'll have our underbust to our waist, which is that same horizontal line we took for the underbust measurement. We're just gonna measure from where we took that measurement to the waist. Next is our waist to high hip measurement, which same thing here, where we took our high hip measurement is where we're going to hit that mark. Then our waist to mid hip, middle hip. And then lastly, we have our waist to crotch measurement. I'll go ahead and grab that off camera. And then that's the last measurement I'm gonna need, so I'll be able to determine which pattern size I'm gonna need to cut out, and then we can finally get to cutting the fabric. Let's go. What do we think? This little late night check-in brought to you by Cheetah Shorts. I'm feeling pretty confident in the fit that I have going on right now. I have a few like last minute tiny little tweaks, like 1/4 of an inch adjustments or less for some of these, just to really try and dial it in. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good. So now I'm going to transfer these tiny last minute adjustments back to the pattern and then use the adjusted patterns to cut out the facing fabric and the lining. And I might even see if I have any additional interfacing in my stash just for as much structure as possible. I will be using this sort of working mock-up as a sort of structure providing interior layer between the facing and the lining. In fact, I think this is what I will be attaching the boning to. All right, I'm going to make these final adjustments and then we can start cutting some fabric tomorrow. So now that I have all of the fabric pieces cut out, I'm going to come back to my structure layer and add a couple extra boning channels to that layer instead of to the lining or the facing fabric. Typically I would just use the seam allowance for boning channels, but I want a couple extra, and I have been sitting on like 50 of these seam binding tapes that were a stash bust from my grandmother-in-law. 12 cents. You can tell how old it is just by the price. But it's holding up really nicely, and I'm excited to kind of stash my bust of her stash bust.
What?
That makes sense, right?
No!
This will also be my first time using steel spiral boning, which I'm hoping will just bring a little extra structural integrity to the piece compared to what I typically use, the plastic boning. This works pretty good, but I've definitely noticed it just doesn't hold as well. And I would like for this to last. So is it wise of me to be using brand new materials and brand new techniques on a project with an impending deadline like this? Remains to be seen. excuse the con crunch face, but cheetah shorts are back and everything fits so far, at least going this way. Placeholder ribbon, obviously, but I am very happy with how this has come out so far. Obviously, I still need to finish the top. I'm just gonna use a bias tape, and then I have to attach the crotch pieces as well, which may take a little finagling, but I actually feel pretty good about the fit in the mock-up. Have you guessed yet what I'm going for? First hint, it is a cosplay I have done before, but not in the bunny suit variety. Drop a comment if you have an idea of what I'm going for. Another thing I haven't really taken into account is this piece. I'm gonna need to connect this, and I have not really thought about how I'm gonna do that, so I may pick these seams apart and just connect these two panels rather than the front and back panels. Might be a little lazy and just kind of slip stitch this closed and kind of rely on the crotch piece to kind of hold things together, so we'll see.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Once I have the crotch pieces attached, I will probably attach some elastic maybe around the leg holes, or possibly just do some bias tape because that's something I know, something I'm comfortable with. I do really want to finish this today, at least this base piece, so that one, I can get this video out for you, and two, I have time to further build upon it to actually achieve the cosplay look. And here we are, bunny suit complete. I am actually very happy with how this has turned out, considering it was my first try with a full bunny suit. I've learned a lot. It's my first time working with the, steel boning, first time working with boning channels separate from seam allowance. A lot of new fun techniques that I got to learn and then practice with, and overall a great experience. This is extremely wearable for me, considering it is my first try. I was a little nervous, especially about adding the crotch region to a corset, even just adding more of a hips to the equation compared to corsets I've made previously, which all kind of for the most part, ended around the waist. So adding this kind of lower part here, something I'm gonna have to keep working on, I think, because I originally started this project thinking I wasn't interested necessarily in adding any hip padding or any sort of enhancements on that front. I had some bust enhancement plans, some chicken cutlets for that.
Put these chicken cutlets in your boob cups.
But because I didn't nail the fit for my leg side, is that how we would refer to that? The holes for my legs, I ended up moving my chicken cutlets to my hips. So I am wearing tights, obviously, and I've just kind of stuck those in there to kind of pull that up a little bit and make the fit a little bit better around my crotch area, my butt, that area. But that's probably like the biggest issue I have with this. The fit everywhere else, the fact that like this closes like perfectly, I'm very happy with. I'm very happy with a little bit of like waist reduction I have going on. I don't mind having the hips in there. Like I like having, it feels a little more like a character to me. So overall, I am very happy with the shape. When adjusting the pattern, I didn't do much of anything when it came to like lengthening or shortening. And originally when I was testing the fit, it was fine. Like that worked just fine for me. But now that I have like everything finished, bone in, everything is accounted for, I am feeling a little bit of extra pressure here under my arms. And I do wish that I had maybe shortened a little bit on the sides. So, you know, that's something for a future iteration. Now, obviously this is not the full cosplay. I have not achieved the full look here. This is meant to be a base layer. I have a few more weeks before the con to soup it up, add some ears, add a tail. And again, this is meant to be a base layer. This is not the full look. I have not achieved the full cosplay. I do only have a couple weeks until the con, and I'm going to continue working on this look among others. So keep an eye out, and maybe you'll see some future iterations as well. I'm very excited about this. It feels like a kind of creative endeavor, and I get to build off of something I've done before. So if you have any guesses on what you think this bunny suit version of a cosplay is going to be, drop them in the comments. I'm very excited for where I'm taking this. Obviously, I had so much fun making it, and if you had as much fun as I did, it would mean the world to me if you would like and subscribe. And if you do, I will see you in 2 weeks for my next video. Take care.